Chapter 78 tonight, supporting role. Mo Fan walked around and obtained some news from the people around. That's what I thought. What was the point of making two youngsters duel so grand? As it turns out, it is actually a duel between the powers of Bo City. This battle was indeed not a bad thing for himself. Perform well during the duel and he'd make a name for himself. That's not bad at all. Zhouman, Xiaohou, He Yu, Zhang Yinglu, Xu Jiaoting, Wang Sanpang. How come you guys are here too? Mo Fan suddenly discovered a group of relatively young figures. It turned out they were his classmates. The school had a few spots, and Mu Bai helped getting us in here. It's not every day that you see the school's #1 expert fight with the disciples of an ancestral family. How could we not come and see? Xu Jiaoting sounded a bit sour. For Xu Jiaoting, a great lightning element user, this spot was originally his. In the end, it was stolen by Mo Fan, who killed his way here. However, after what happened during practicals, Xu Jiaoting's scorn towards Mo Fan was no longer as fierce as before. Everyone's lives were basically saved by Mo Fan. In fact, he was actually hoping for Mo Fan to perform brilliantly during the duel this time, so he could regain some face for the magic schools. Brother Fan, I just saw Uncle Mo Jiaxing's name on the invitation list. I reckon it was done by that guy Mu He, Zhang Xiaohou said. That's a good thing. Mo Fan, you need to do your best, Zhouman said with a pure smile. Mo Fan nodded. The Mo Fan from 2 years ago would never have imagined that his duel would turn into such a passionate topic among the crowds today. That is also good. The feeling of having so many eyes on you is also a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's way better than being in the dark with no one knowing of you. Everyone, I'm thankful for everyone who made it here to congratulate my son. Time always flies by so fast. Some of us will definitely reach a point where we are unable to cast magic. Bo City's future will inevitably be seized by those younger, and ever more outstanding youths. You may think that I have invited everyone here for my son's coming-of-age ceremony. That is a mistake. I have always believed in the students surpassing the master. I, Mu Zhouyan, am only able to do this much for Bo City. I am only able to help preserve the current state of this Bo City that has given birth to many magicians and outstanding, talented people. However, in the next 10 to 20 years, Bo City will be in the hands of the young and will become even more prosperous. Becoming an increasingly more flourishing mage city is definitely possible. Don't you think that I should be holding a majestic banquet for the future of Bo City, so everyone can witness it together? Mu Zhouyan was the organizer. He raised the goblet with red wine as his face filled with a red aura to hint to the present guests. All right, let's give a toast for the future of Bo City. Yang Zuohe was the first to stand up as he greeted Mu Zhouyan. The people present are all those who have the qualifications to discuss our Bo City. Master Mu Zhouyan is not the only one who is looking forward to the future of our Bo City. This toast, I will drink all at once. The present guests also stood up as they toasted before drinking it all. Amongst the people in the hall, Mo Fan discovered that Mrs. Tang Yue, who was also present at the banquet, was feeling as sick as he was from what Mu Zhouyan had said. She even rolled her eyes during the toast. He didn't know which part of Mu Zhouyan that Mrs. Tang Yue was against. Realizing his ambitions, after the impassioned and mighty Mu manner, that almost emitted golden rays, feast had ended. Naturally, they welcomed the most important play of the day, the magic duel. Many of these people really did not come here to listen to Mu Zhouyan's stereotypical speech. They just wanted to know whose family the underground holy spring would fall on this year. There were numerous magicians within Bo City who were in the primary level and had only been able to use the same magic, so much that their old hands began to develop calluses. Whereas how many were there exactly who had actually taken a step into the realm of intermediate mages? Stardust was unfathomable. Some people displayed talents from the start, yet at the end of the day, they were unable to cross that threshold. Thus, those who had been primary magicians their whole lives could be found everywhere. Hence the heavenly treasure, the underground holy spring, that was able to infinitely increase a magician's chances to approach the intermediate level, became a holy item everyone was yearning for, even in their dreams. Unfortunately, it was only open to the younger generations of magicians who were filled with unlimited possibilities. Furthermore, only one person could enter every year, and few could win against the disciple of an ancestral family. When Mo Fan was just a student, he didn't know that Bo City had this kind of heavenly treasure. He also didn't know that time being rude and impetuous would allow him to hit the cultivation opportunity which numerous people within Bow City were thirsting for. It seemed to comply with the saying, if you don't do your best, then you won't know how great your strength is. The time of the magic duel finally came. Mo Fan was already waiting in the inner arena of the magic duel after hearing the arrangements from Mu Joyan. An elliptical center emerged in the duel arena. It was much bigger than the training grounds of the school. It approached the size of a sports stadium. On both sides were ascending seats, more than enough to contain today's invited guests of Bow City. Mo Fan was standing in the center of the duel arena. In fact, he had been standing there for a while. Yu Ang was late. It was clear that Mu Joyan wanted to give him a gorgeous appearance on stage. This kind of feeling wasn't good. This made Mo Fan feel like he was in a bullfighter ring. He was the bull that was released onto the ring so everyone could watch him, let the spectators understand what kind of weight this bull had, to see the sturdy physique and sharp bull horns. Then the leading role, the handsome and elegant matador, brilliantly enters the arena a little while later. All kinds of lighting begins to flicker and all kinds of applause screeches. My son, that's right, that is my son. Mo Jiaxing was definitely optimistic. He was cheerfully telling the old employees of Mu family at the side. Not bad, old Mo. It could be said that you brought a change of fortune, a worker who dealt with the garden said. Is that right? As long as he doesn't get completely beaten. I have heard this Yu Ang is normally unusually fierce against his own brothers and sisters, a worker who is in charge of cleaning said. The youths are just testing their skills, how could they be fierce? Mo Jiaxing chuckled. In Mo Jiaxing's view, this was just a very common duel. He also thought that a great character like Mu Joyan wouldn't have the mind of a child. The truth is, a lot of the people knew that Mu Joyan wanted to stomp on this Mo Fan who didn't know the difference between heaven and earth. Bets. I bet on this kid Mo Fan being beaten in a single move. Shit, no matter what, he is still the #1 student of Tianlan Magic High. How could that be possible? I will bet on it either way. I have heard of Yu Ang's abilities many times before. As everyone was incessantly discussing this, Yu Ang, who was wearing a unique garment, finally emerged. His clothes looked like they were made of leather, but at the same time, they also looked like high-quality silk. It was sparkling beneath the illumination of the lights. His entire person looked like a prince who was walking into his palace. In terms of appearance, it was clear that they put a lot of effort into it. This really caused a huge contrast with Mo Fan, who wore sandals to the arena. After Yu Ang wore high-class clothes, his entire demeanor had immediately risen by a few levels. Adding to his already tall stature and somewhat feminine traits, bedazzling a few girls was natural. On the snowy white clothes was a design that fused the family's ice magic diagram. Yu Ang brilliantly entered the arena, and the corner of his mouth displayed a confident smile that indicated that he was the main character today. Chapter 79 Magic Duel. Crap, this old guy Mu Joyan is really going all out. Are you able to count how many magic equipment and how many magic tools are on his body? As Deng Kai saw this, he almost jumped out of his chair. Principal Zhu repeatedly shook his head. The reason why the numerous students from school were unable to beat the disciples of an ancestral family was not just because their cultivation was slightly lacking, but their equipment was definitely not as good. At this coming-of-age ceremony, who knew how many magic tools and how much magic equipment old man Mu Joyan had given to Yu Ang? What about Mo Fan? Other than the bone scythe shield he received from Zhongkong, it appeared that he has nothing else. How do you even fight this? Seeing this scene, Principal Zhu and many other people from the school were slightly dejected. Deng Kai, since this duel was approved by you, then you can be the referee for it this time. Mu Joyan gave a slight smile. He was waiting to see a good play around the cat dominating the rat. Deng Kai really did not know what to say. He could only pray for Mo Fan in his heart. The two are both well-known figures amongst the younger generations. Having the duel is to motivate you to work even harder on your cultivation. Either way, take your positions. Deng Kai stood in between the two young magicians as he said this with a voice everyone could hear. Deng Kai then slowly took a few steps back, but he did not completely exit the field. At that spot, if something were to happen, then he could quickly put a stop to it. Alright, shake hands. Wait for my signal to start, Deng Kai said. Mo Fan and Yu Ang were facing each other as they both extended their arms. A wisp of ice condensed on Yu Ang's palm. At the instant Mo Fan shook hands with him, he could feel a cold air penetrating into the depths of his bone marrow. Mo Fan's response was quick, as his arm turned burning red. The flames were protecting his own flesh, arteries, and bones. With his face remaining the same, he raised his other hand to erect a middle finger toward Yu Ang. You really are a little rat that doesn't know anything. However, that won't be a problem. I will freeze your brain that is filled with water. That way, it could perhaps make you more clear-headed. After Yu Ang let go of his hand, he turned around as he let out a cold laugh before taking his position. Idiot, Mo Fan replied. After returning to his designated place after turning around, Mo Fan subconsciously closed his eyes for a moment. He opened his eyes again as his gaze swept across his surroundings. When he had entered this manor, he had forgotten how many eyes he had seen that carried ridicule and sympathy, and there were many who were saying to him that he was incredibly brave, yet, the corners of their mouth let out a shallow smile of disdain that meant, you're overestimating your own strength, simply attempting the impossible. In this world, there would always be someone who thought they were clever. Using the excuse of being experienced and having schadenfreude tendencies, they would judge you based on every action that appeared to be overstepping your boundaries. They themselves were trapped in a cage of mediocrity, and they were all living in a system they thought no one was able to jump out of. Thus, they thought and hoped for everyone to be the same as them. Furthermore, they used an opinionated and short-sighted belief to ridicule the people who dared to do anything more. These people loved to rejoice over other people's misfortunes, incessantly gossip, loved to show off their limited knowledge and sense of superiority. Today is the day Mo Fan would make them all shut up. Duel, begin! As a command came, Deng Kai had thoroughly declared the beginning of the magic duel which Mo Fan has been waiting for a long time. In the next second, Mo Fan's pupils instantly emitted scarlet fire rays. Within the fire ray, you could clearly see the 7 flame stars. They quickly connected to each other to form a star path. Dazzling star path, magic come forth. A ball of flames ignited on top of Mo Fan's palm. The scorching flame sprites were excitedly jumping around, impatient to scorch all of the inflammable materials in the surroundings. Fire burst, scorch. The speed of Mo Fan's completion of star path was fast. The people could still feel the sounds of Deng Kai's declaration of battle resounding within their ears. The adept casting naturally startled everyone present. It seems like he's still got some ability. The problem is that this first level of fire burst is completely useless. Strange, hasn't this guy already grasped the fire burst, burning bones? Why is he using the first level, fire burst, scorch? The power of burning bones is much stronger than scorch. Since he already seized the opportunity of casting magic first, why isn't he being more fierce? Instructor Luo Yunbo immediately revealed the suspicions in his heart. The people who somewhat knew of Mo Fan already knew that Mo Fan was the first person in the entire school to have grasped the second level of primary magic. The might of fire burst, burning bones had already been displayed back in practicals. In this important duel, why did he decide to cast a fire burst, scorch? On the other side, Yu Ang was not in a hurry at all. He stood there watching Mo Fan finishing his star path. It looked as though he was saying, "So what if you finish your magic spell first?" Ice spread. Yu Ang no longer waited. He also used his intent to control all of his stars. He was just as adept at it as Mo Fan. Spirals of cold air swirled around the expensive white clothing that Yu Ang wore. Ice spread, coagulate. Yu Ang continued to chant the name of his magic. In a split second, the entire duel arena's temperature abruptly dropped. It went from originally hot midsummer to a cold winter season. Snowflakes were floating. There were partially frozen layers of frost and ice motes fluttering through the air. The white snow of frost descended upon Mo Fan. With the speed of the ice spreads freezing, if Mo Fan were to stand more than 3 seconds within the area of the ice spread, the lower part of his body would definitely be frozen. Ice spread was an extremely advantageous spell during a showdown. At the primary caster level, only the wind and earth elements had any movement spells. The effect of ice spread had always been an entire area. Once it arrived and the snow frost fell to the ground, the magician would have to escape from this area within 3 seconds or else they'd be frozen still. The people who weren't fast enough were completely unable to escape from the frozen zone. Yu Ang's ice spread covered a large area around where Mo Fan was. Even if Mo Fan were to do all he can to run from this, he definitely could not escape the range of ice spread within 3 seconds. Thus, after 3 seconds, Mo Fan would become a human target. After that, Yuang will continue to cover the place with yet another layer of ice spread. Mo Fan would become an ice sculpture that would attract the laughter of the people in yet another 3 seconds. There was nothing to be done about it. Ice element was basically a no-brainer when it came to dealing with slower magicians and magical beasts. This was because ice spread was said to be the spell that required no technique within primary magic, yet still very useful. Shit, did this kid go crazy? Why is he still standing there? If it was me, I'd just start running. The second you get frozen, it'll be over. Mo Fan didn't run. If it was any other knowledgeable magicians facing ice spread, they would start moving so they wouldn't be easily frozen. You want to freeze me? At this time, Mo Fan had already burst out with a smile. Mo Fan didn't throw the flames in his hands at Yuang. In fact, he was very clear that the small level 1 fire spell was definitely not able to emerge victorious against Yuang. This fire burst. Scorch possessed another clever function.